Mrs. Smith of the TNT Defense Force. Welcome. Ms. Lynn Henry, PTA President of the St. James Secondary School. Mr. Ferdinand McIntosh, Community Council President, representing Patna Village, First State. Ms. Dixie Thomas, former PTA President of the Patna River State Government Primary School. Ms. Elizabeth Balcon, Community Council President, Bourget Jean. And joining us from Tobago is Miss Marva Berkeley, representing Outpouring Television Ministries. Again, welcome to you all. Okay, so just before we get into the mainstream of the real reason for our podcast this evening, I would like to take a minute on behalf of the management of the ESA to have a lighter moment, as well as to show some appreciation to a lucky participant. That lucky person is being rewarded with an opportunity for 1 month free lesson sessions, primary level, at ESA, for their child. So let's congratulate Miss Atiba Charles. Congratulations to you, Miss Charles. You can feel free to redeem your prize at ESA's admin office at your earliest convenience.
Thank you very much, Miss Moses.
You're welcome.
Welcome. Welcome.
Talk about the early worm, right? Or the early bird. All right. So let's move on. And right now we're gonna move into a little bit of stimulating thought. Miss Taylor.
Yeah.
All right. So I have here some categories. I don't know about you. I don't know about the other parents here today, but I don't know. We have some categories here to ask whether or not we know our children really, really well. All right. So I think let's try and see what can happen here. All right. There are no wrong or right answers. How well do we know our children? All right. Spare time activities, indoor or outdoor. Now, what type of spare time activity would your child invest in most of the time?
So let's see your answers in the chat. Let's see if you can post your answers in the chat.
It's an interactive, so we just want to break the ice a bit as we get to know some of you guys, and I think we all are parents here. I see video.
Indoor.
Yes, indoor activity is good. So video seems to know her child pretty okay. All right, who's next? I'm seeing Susan, Cindy.
Electronics, YouTube shorts, Darman. Excellent. Gaming.
Gaming, yes.
That one is topping the list, huh?
Yes. Definitely.
What about the outdoor ones? Getting anything on outdoor?
Any outdoor, anybody? Anyone?
Any outdoor persons? My son's spare time activities.
Right. So we are seeing trail riding, basketball, exercising, and karate. Good job. Gymnastics, badminton, karate. Okay.
All right. Chores through repeated. What? That went so fast.
Chores through repeated mention to complete.
Interesting.
Flag football, lovely. Good one.
What is flag football? Can you share what is flag football, if you don't mind me asking?
I think that's the football, like American football, where they have like tags hanging around their waist, and they have to like pull the tag
Right.
off the person who has the ball, I believe.
I think I remember that one.
Swimming, okay, long jump, lovely. So we have some awesome activities. So parents, we are clearly seeing that you know your children. So that's excellent.
I see we have some singers as well. Some
Singers,
choir,
choir, lovely.
Yeah, that's excellent. Somehow I think this generation is they are very into the art forms.
Yes, yes.
Drama, acting, music, they are very very artistic.
Yes.
All right.
Yeah.
All right, so Miss Moses.
Okay.
Take it away.
So our next category would be food choices. What type of food will your child opt to having if given the choice to make? Healthy snacks, you think?
Ramen. Ramen noodles.
Any responses there would be any? Healthy snacks.
Yeah, that ramen. I don't know why ramen is so popular at our school as well. I don't know.
Pancake, nuggets, yes. Mac and cheese.
Oh, wow.
Wow.
Oh, cuckoo, callaloo, fried.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
Okay. A combination of healthy and unhealthy. Definitely cereal. Easy way to go. Cereal. Home cooked food or junk food. They eat what is provided. That's excellent. Yes.
I the right type of parenting I see in the one time. Eat what I give you to eat.
Grapefruit, apples, lovely on the healthy side. Yes.
All right, grapefruits and apples. Yes, that remind me of my
childhood days.
No, my nephew. He doesn't eat snacks at all. All he eats is fruits.
Wow.
His parents, kind of trained him that way. So that's very interesting. So good to see we have other parents training their children to eat healthy as well.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, Ms. Moses, let's go.
Right. So here we come to the big one. Morals. What behavioral values would your child exhibit or display? Let's just say, to throw out some for you. Would your child steal from another to satisfy a need or vice? Would your child help someone in need? Example, a friend. And when I say a friend, the friend can probably not have lunch one day. You have more than enough. Would you share? Or would your child help an elderly person with a bag? Would your child walk into a room and not exercise good manners? That is, greet, smile, interact with an acceptable tone of voice or behavior, or exercise gratitude at the end of your interaction. Any of those.
Okay, so we have someone saying always helpful to everyone. Good, always helpful to everyone. Sharing.
Excellent.
Keep it going, guys. Shares with friends. Helpful, kind. Loving, learn from parents. Very helpful child. Share with child. Give elderly person money. Always greeting them. Shares with those in need. Counseling her peers. Excellent. So these are really good, excellent contribution, guys. Right? Someone is saying their child will exercise good manners by saying the right things. Good. loves to give to the homeless, and response. So good. Good responses. Excellent.
So there we see there are a lot of good upbringing being instilled in these children. So parents are doing a really fantastic job.
Excellent, guys.
Yeah. Very good. Right. So Mr. Clement would have introduced me earlier, and he would have, informed everyone that I am one of those very supportive parents to the school and to him and his staff, his team. And he was very correct. All right. So I would just ask you at this time to permit me for 2 minutes of your time just to share my personal. Sorry?
Go ahead.
Well, forgive me because I'm gonna have to read this. I get all emotional when I have to talk off the top of my head. So, just bear with me here, right?
Sure.
Okay, so I just want to share on a personal note that I would like to take this opportunity to endorse the Parental Upgrade initiative taken by Mr. Adrian Clement and his team, the CEO and founder of ESA. An initiative I immediately welcomed and was willing to support, as I saw it as an opportunity for me to be in a position to continue learning in an effort to enhance my skills as a parent, as a dedicated mother, and by extension, ensuring my son would reap the ultimate reward or benefits. Right? My son and I have been through a lot during our journey together, as he was diagnosed with being on the autistic spectrum from a very tender age, right? If you're not familiar, or you're not educated, or you're not, inclined in that way, you may think of it as something that is of a negative. But this condition has become so prevalent and so into our society now that it is now becoming the norm to hear somebody's autistic. I don't know about what your thoughts are on that, but to me, the more I interact with parents, maybe the hospital medical appointments I'm going to, or I'm in the bank line, or you're just seeing it all around you more and more, and it just goes to show that things are changing. Whatever it is causing this, it's changing in society, right? And and then of course the education surrounding that too. This is in addition to other medical and physical challenges, such as the conditions of encopresis and dysgraphia. The two other challenges I would have experienced with him. Educationally, I was forced to move him from his homeschooling environment, which proved to be an extremely expensive project that I had to undertake, right? And especially as a single mother, this is definitely, something that's really I could not keep up with. In addition to the fact that I felt that he also needed to interact with other children for a more holistic experience in his life. Yeah, I decided to enroll him into a private school, which was supposed to have offered him the level of education catering to his need. However, this never really materialized, and I found myself having once again to move him to a more appropriate institution. In fact, it was only when I met and was introduced to Mr. Clement that I felt that I was being guided in the right direction, satisfying my son's needs in more than one area of education. Of course, shortly thereafter, I did see the proof in the pudding. I am actually seeing progress with my son, Ethan. All right. And At this point in time, I just want to say to Mr. Clement and Ms. Taylor, thank you for all of your efforts, with my son to this day. All right. Thank you very much. You have my support in every way. Wherever I can be there. Right.
Thank you.
Thank you for your time, everybody.
Thank you, Ms. Walker, for that testimony. It gives us teachers encouragement to continue doing what we do, right? Really, education is not just teaching in front of a board. It's actually a part of you for those who love to teach. It's a part of you. And these students are like our children. We will want the best for our children. And so we will also want the best for our students. So we treat them as our own, yes?
Yeah. Right.
Yeah, thank you for sharing that, Miss. Really appreciate that. And I think some of your story, your story is one of many stories that we have interacted with over the years. And this literally, to everyone who's attending, I want to thank you so much, because this was, first of all, the school is a culmination of community work, over 20 years of community work. And this, which is a project of the Excel Success Academy, it really is providing a platform really for parents to get the opportunity to not only share their major concerns. We had a really unfortunate, and I'm going to be honest with you guys here, that incident that took place last year, November, October, with Jaden, that horrendous suicide. And, unfortunately, it not being no closure, let's put it that way, was able to be provided by the state. These are situations that really inspire us in what we do. And so we look forward to having this platform where we can discuss solutions. We can express and discuss solutions. We have our guest speakers already on with us. And we're going to keep that secret in the bag until we are ready to introduce her. But she's here quietly. You are seeing so many names, but you don't know which one is our speaker. But we're going to introduce her in a short bit. But our goal here is to provide a platform of solutions and on all areas of student development, student and child development, from academics to moral values, to career development, to social emotional development, leadership development, you name it, relationships. Our goal in this podcast / webinar series is really to tackle these issues on a platform where your voice is heard. Yeah?
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir. So again, our Mr. Clement. I don't know how long we're going to be able to keep this cat in the bag, because here I am tasked with to introduce the speakers now. So should I just go ahead and do so, or would you prefer to, because we've come to that?
Okay. Well, in interest of time, of course, we had a little bit late start, and we did promise a 7:30 cutoff time. And so the presentations, I want everyone to know the presentations are not going to be as extensive or elaborate as our next upcoming event, which will take place on the 16th of February. All right. And so I guess that's my first announcement. Just jumping ahead, Ms. Moses. Our first announcement is that we, this platform, this forum for parents, this community, we are looking to meet every first and third Sunday of the month, every first and third Sunday, same time, 6 p.m. And hopefully, if we can do it for 1 hour, that will be preferable. I'm speaking on behalf of both parents and teachers here, We have a long week ahead as teachers, so much planning, and parents, so much planning as well. But we want to have it a 1 hour intensive, engaging, interactive session where a guest speaker could share for about 15, 20 minutes, and we could just, off the bat, just get into some very interactive solutions. If parents have questions on matters and situations, they could bring it. We had an amazing list, an extensive list of over 20, 22 or 25 topics that came into our registration form. 25 approximate topics that parents said, hey, we need to address these issues, and just to name a few topics such as I'm seeing here, dealing with preteens, navigating, emotional changes, conflict resolution, boundaries in dating, goal setting, teenage pregnancies, co-parenting, divorce, discipline, special needs, rebellious kids, screen time addictions, effective communications, how to deal with slow learners in school. These were just some of the topics, co-parenting, that came to the front, sexual addiction, substance abuse, the culture and music. All these were topics that came out in our simple registration form. And so these are topics we have. I want to assure you, we are definitely going to be addressing these topics, in our upcoming series in years to come. And I said in years to come. I'm hopeful that this community is going to grow and is going to build, and you guys will become the ambassadors for this platform that we believe will be a voice and a solution to many parents who are hurting and in some cases suffering in silence where their children is concerned. So we want to be a voice of solution. And so I am going to start my quick presentation. All right. And in the interest of time, we have 2 presentations today. It's not going to be long as I promised, but it's just to whet our appetite and to give you some direction as to where we're going to be going over the next few weeks. All right. And we're going to focus today really on approximately two key topics, which is going to be focusing on myself, Mr. Clement, the founder and director of the Excel Success Academy. I have been blessed, to have traveled several countries as a keynote speaker, as a youth facilitator, from Africa to Europe to America to South America. And I have been blessed. I have to say I'm blessed. I'm really humble and grateful. I've been able, by my passion, my shared passion for young people, God has opened doors for me to be a voice and to address major issues. Even right here in Trinidad, a lot of crisis intervention engagements I got in dealing with, very high-risk, sensitive issues that you would not hear in the newspapers, but they would have called me in to deal with some of these issues as part of my NGO outreach Excel mentorship. And I'm so excited to share some of my experiences and expertise with you as a child psychology practitioner and also as a John Maxwell leadership coach. Our goal is to see how can we motivate and inspire our children to be the best that they can be. And so I want to jump into my presentation very, very quickly so that I can get out of the way for our special guest today. All right. I know she's excited and waiting. So I'm just going to really touch on this very, very quickly. All right. Now, let's get into my presentation. I'm going to share my screen very quickly so that you would be able to see my slides. Yeah. And by the way, I would be as we did promise in our promotional flyer, that registration for this event is going to allow you access to our PowerPoint, at least my PowerPoint presentation, which it's my privilege to share with you. All right, because our goal is to equip, and you can only be equipped when you have tools to do so. Yes. So allow me to get started. All right. Good. All right. So we are looking at this topic, and by the way, at the end of my presentation, there is going to be a quick poll, a very, very quick poll, that is going to allow us to, get some feedback from everyone that attended the event. All right. By the way, I want to ask you, for those of you that are on, there were some people who literally registered like about 15 minutes before we started, and by that time our administrator had already been, preoccupied in getting prepared for this podcast. So if you do know someone trying to get in, you can just copy and send them the link on WhatsApp. All right. Copy the same link we would have emailed to you in the confirmation email, so that they will have access. All right. That's just a quick announcement. All right. So let's get this up and running. So what we're looking at today is this very important topic that I want to entitle today, The Secret to Motivating Your Child. The Secret to Motivating Your Child. And on that note, I want to begin with this opening statement by the author of the book, The Parenting Map. I think she goes by the name of Dr. Safali. And she made a statement that was so thought-provoking, and it kind of resonated with me. She said, our love for our kids can take our breath away, both in its limitless expansiveness and also in the heartbreaking, and also in its heartbreaking anxiety. It is the perfect cocktail for the most piercing adoration and the most excruciating fear. This is what our kids do to our souls. They expand them as never before, but also twist them to a pulp and throw a dagger at them. Then they walk away without even noticing. Can I get some parents? Watch me. This thing had me so riveted, right? Does any parents have experienced this before besides me? Any parents have experienced this? Just show by raise of hands in the chat. Ms. Taylor, Ms. Moses, you'll just follow the chat for me. You ever felt that way? So, captivated and embroiled in their innocence and their cuteness, Sometimes you ask yourself, I can't believe I made something so amazing, And then sometimes these children do some things, boy. Lord have mercy. Parents, talk to me. So I'm going to move forward.
Yes, multiplying by 4.
Multiplying. Oh, my word.
Yes, they do. They do.
I tell you, right? That is so true. We adore our kids. I think all of us are here because we love our children. right? I think we are all here. We would have taken time on this Sunday afternoon to do so. But I want to start some more thought-provoking questions. We have two general problems where this is concerned. One, right, we try to motivate them through fear, which is what we call old school parenting, right? I say, move it, boy. Let's hit you to stick, right? Or we try to bribe or motivate them through bribe or coaxing. Oh, God, son, if you do it, I go buy your favorite ice cream. Anybody, that sound like any parents on this life here, talk to me. All right? We either try to motivate them through fear or through coaxing or bribing. All right? Feel free to we have the chat is very interactive, guys. Yeah. All right? It is a webinar, interactive webinar. So feel free to put your comments, questions. We're going to entertain a few questions and feedback afterward at the end. But moving forward, it leaves us to this issue of the 4 types of parenting, right? And to any parent who have been in a good PTA group session, you will have heard this before. Once you cross at least, let me say, 2-3 years of parenting, you may have heard this concept before. All right. And this concept was actually developed by what's the name? Dr. Diane Baldrin. Dr. Diane Baldrin from a couple of years ago, decades ago actually, developed this concept called the 4 parenting styles. And we have these 4 styles said: authoritarian, authoritative, indulgent, or permissive, and laissez-faire or neglectful parenting. But I'm also going to look at the dynamic, what I call the personality temperament dynamic between the style of parenting that we employ as parents versus the personality traits of our children, which again falls in another 4 basic categories according to social psychologists, right? So we're going to go a little deeper into it. So the other question is, it's a question of common sense. Why do we teach one thing to 4 different children and expect to get the same response? If we are dealing with children with different personality profiles, why it is, now I came up from a big family, right? I'm one of 7, all right? And I can tell you, my siblings, we all didn't respond the same way to different commands or instructions in the home, all right? Yeah. That is just the reality, guys. Why do we do this? It's a common sense rhetorical response. The answer is no, you would not get the same response. So the question is, how many of you want to have a better relationship with your children? This, show by raise of hands on this chat really, really quickly. Let me see those responses. By a raise of hands, how many parents really want to have a better relationship with your children? All right, excellent. We are seeing those hands. All right, we are seeing those hands. All right, and guys, I think that's why we are here today. We really want to improve this parent-child relationship. So here's another issue I want to address. Well, not address, but just bring to the front: cyberbullying. Do you know if your child is a victim? I address this because there's a possibility that your child's personality may have been adjusted or is being molded or shaped by what's happening behind your back. All right, on those devices. Are you seeing those hands coming through the devices? Can I give a hint to some of you to why we had so much aggression coming out of the COVID-19 pandemic when school reopened in April 2021, I think it was? 2022, when school reopened? Yep, it did skyrocket. Do you know why trend came out? And they were literal an explosion, an explosive escalation of fights and inter-school conflicts, and all of these things was taking place rapidly. Do you guys want to know why? this very picture you're seeing here. Those devices that we gave them access to, baptize them into a world of social acceptance and social behavior that we as parents were clueless of. I remember one of my goddaughters came and showed me a conversation she was having with some children in her school, right? Young parents, you wouldn't believe the level of graphic language that these children were communicating with. Who will bust who head, who waiting for you after school. The way you talk so to me when I see you face to face when school reopen, there's a bad person behind your phone. When you see me face to face, you'll see who bad. And if you see the threats and the gangsterism talk, and of course with Trinidad music, right, fueled and sponsored by criminal elements, we saw these behaviors escalating in epic proportions in Trinidad and Tobago, to the point where the government, the Ministry of Education and the Ministry of National Security had to partner to lock down, I think it was 13 or 15 schools, I think it was, high-risk schools. They had was to identify and had police patrolling those schools and all of these things. Guys, these are real situations in our national context that is affecting and shaping your child's personality and behavior. All right? And so that leads me to this next point called the dark web. Any parents on this live, is this term new to you, the dark web? Anybody ever heard of this before, the dark web? All right, the dark web. This is the internet behind the internet.
No.
Oh my goodness, some parents are saying they have never heard of this. Guys, this is the world of the criminal syndicates that is running our world. From espionage to international crime, the underground world. Yes, I'm seeing that response there. Guys, this is where arms and ammunition and weapons of mass destruction are traded. And also, which is a very high scale in our country, children trafficking is where this thing takes place. And so there are portals and there are links where, unfortunately, some of our children have access to some of these, I call it black sites or black, illegal cyber sites. And we have to be alert of what's happening on our children's devices. That's the only reason I brought this up, because it's getting more serious than we think. Next question. How many of you know exactly how to motivate your child? Thank you, Mr. Smith. He says his 13-year-old son is fully aware of these things. Right? That is a wise parent. All right. Can at least one parent tell me how do they motivate their child? Can we get one parent to answer this question quickly? Just one parent, because of time. How do we motivate our children?
Okay, so Mr. Smith said being a role model.
All right, excellent.
Positive or negative reinforcement. Okay. Anyone else? One more?
I don't believe it's a broad stroke answer. I believe it's based on the circumstance. Good evening, everybody. And how immediate you want the response to be, if you use affirmations, if you use positive or negative reinforcement, the element of fear. So I don't think that's one answer. I believe it's situational. That would be my answer.
Okay.
Excellent. Thank you so much for responding. Thank you for responding.
Someone says, by speaking positively and helping to boost his confidence by displaying love in the household. Okay, great.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Awesome. Thanks for those responses. So we are talking about for those of you who may have joined us last minute or just chimed in, we are in our first presentation, which is entitled "The Secret to Motivating Your Child." And how does your parenting style interacts or clashes, on the other hand, with your child's personality profile, and why this is something we need to be aware of, all right? Because the first step to any change is consciousness. That's the very first step to any change, self-awareness or consciousness and ownership. That's the very first step, parents, all right? And so we look at this, this graphic here, and by the way, as a John Maxwell coach, we do this with both companies and also with teenagers and students as well. This is called the DISC profile assessment. The DISC profile. This stands for DICS, which is the 4 major or basic personality profiles. And we do this so that both organizations and individuals could identify their strengths and their weaknesses in their personality, of course, so that they can increase their chances of profitability or performance in the workplace, and particularly in our case, in academic and personal performance as a student. And so if you look at these 4 quarters or 4 quadrants, we have the first one is what I would call dominant. This is what the D stands for. The I is for influential. The S is for steady, and the C is for compliant. All right. And if you look in the 4 quarters, you're going to see some more adjectives, or really, which I will call properties or character traits of these 4 personality traits that children generally fall into. So let's go a little deeper into this. All right. How it affects their future. So understanding this affects our children's future. The DISC talent assessment is used in companies as an HR hiring tool. If we did not know, within the past couple of years, the HR departments in several companies have renamed themselves as what is called the talent department. All right. And they are looking at how skills can advance the, of course, the mission and vision or profitability of any workplace or any establishment. All right. But believe it or not, even HR experts are using these assessments. I remember during the pandemic, I was job hunting, and there were some companies that stated in the application process that applicants must complete this assessment. They must complete a DISC talent assessment before even submitting their resume, believe it or not. All right. So this is where the world is going. So let's look at these 4 categories. All right. We have these 4 categories. I don't know if you can see my cursor. All right. My cursor is over the heart. The problem with these 4 styles is that sometimes it's almost like 2 extremes, right? The heart above, which is the loving, authoritative, loving, caring, supportive parent, diametrically opposed to the cold, staunch, strict, authoritarian type. And then on the east and west quadrant, we have also the very is it neglectful? Neglectful type parenting. I don't know if you can follow the arrows here with me. And then you have the unlocked keypad is what you call laissez-faire, anything goes. All right. So let's look a little deeper into it. Authoritative. All right. So this is the one that is most encouraged and most productive and healthy in terms of raising emotionally stable and productive children. All right. So as you're seeing in these graphics here, the father is somewhat guiding, but gives him room to play. He plays, and if he makes mess, he tells him, "Hey, I'm not cleaning up your mess for you, son. Go and pick it up." All right. Be responsible. All right. If he does things wrong, he corrects him. And so this boy grows up understanding that we live in a world of boundaries, a world of choices and consequences. All right. Then we have the permissive parenting. We're going to go deeper into this very quickly. Yeah? So just flow with me. So then we have the permissive. This is like the next extreme. They love their child so much that they give them everything they want. And that's what is showing here in this animation graphic here. They love from granny to mommy. Are you seeing that pile of toys in his bedroom? Does that remind us of any particular parenting style here? Birthday, Christmas, Easter, almost every special occasion is a gift, right? But what is that child doing with it? What are you programming your child to think about gifts and things of value? That is it an easy access to get whatever they want? The thing is, this child begins to coax. If you look at the bottom left-hand corner, this graphic with the granny lifting him up, I see that smirk on his face. He knows if I don't like walking anymore, I'm sick and tired, I will just whine and bawl and they will pick me up. If I want ice cream, I will whine and then get my ice cream. Right? Then we have the neglectful parenting. Hold and anything goes. Hold and anything goes. Mommy and daddy has no time with that child. That child is just locked in a room after they get home from school. If they get home from school, if mommy and daddy cares to be home, they don't matter. No one receives them. They go in their room, they watch TV, they eat food in the fridge. Whether or not they do good at school, parents don't really care. Okay, well, good job, whatever. They have no time with that child. And that child grows up feeling feelings of rejection and insecurity and all these things. And then there's a fifth style which developed within the past decade. A fifth style called the over-involved parents. These are the parents who don't want their child to get a bobo on the foot. They don't want their child. Parents, talk to me here now. Talk to me. Is this reflecting or sounding like any parents we know? Of course, we're not talking about you guys. We're talking about other people in Trinidad and Tobago. This is not this wonderful bunch of parents. All right. This child is literally treated like a god. I would say that, idolized. There's a term they call it helicopter parents. That's where this term came from, helicopter parents. All right. They never allow that child to make a mistake. If the child gets 1 wrong or 10 wrong in an exam, the parents will call the school. Why did you give me my son those questions wrong? Did you know how hard he studied for that test? You could have at least given him, some bonus points for effort. And those are the parents that literally send school administrators staring mad. Forgive me to say it. This is doing the child's homework for them. Yes, I saw that's in the chat. Right, guys? These approaches may not be too healthy in preparing our children for a real world. Moving forward. And then we have the final one, authoritarian parenting. This is where this child has very strict lines of rules and protocols to follow. And the moment they break it, they are immediately penalized. What daddy says goes, what mommy says goes. There's no feedback. There's no question or conversation or debate. You do as you are told, as you are done in the military. All right? The problem with this is that this child grows up thinking that their worth or their perspective is of no value and worth. All right? They grow up thinking that this is, that my word, my choices is of no value. And they grow up actually, unfortunately, with something called, with an unhealthy attachment style called avoidant. Right? There are 2 types of avoidance styles. They grow up with an extreme avoidance style of relationships. And unfortunately, even worse, they end up in relationships with men or women that is as controlling as their parents. All right? So these are things we have to watch out for. So let me speed ahead as I wrap up this presentation. So what happens with the dominant style? All right? The dominant personality, now we just covered the five parenting styles. Now we're going to look at the four personality profiles of our children and why there's a possibility, parents, that there may be some clashes when it comes to rules and responsibilities and performance in your child. Let's take a look. So in the dominant child, this child has three major characteristics. They are dominant, demanding, intolerant. They have no time with nobody. Help your child with sister with your homework. Another time with Sheena, I go and play football. Right? These characteristics are controlling. They are results-oriented. They are adventurous. They are daring. They have their own willpower. We sometimes call them stubborn, but it's not that they're stubborn. They're just strong-willed. All right? These are the innovators, the entrepreneurs. All right? These are the decisive ones. All right? Results-driven type students in society. Let's move on. What are their motivations? We're giving you the motivational tips in our parents. You can take note. What motivates that dominant type child? Right? Which I would call the leader. Always try to see the positive side of these character traits. All right? So this child is a natural leader, even though because of their emotional immaturity, they don't know how to steward that leadership potential. So watch this now. What motivates them, or what should you do to motivate them? One, challenge them. Keep challenging them to do productive things, positive things. You know, they like being right. So in those cases, you know, give them debates and see how good they could prove, you know, their rightness. Or whatever better word. They love to win. You know, they love control. What is their main motivation? Power. So that's the weakness you want to monitor there. That power dynamic, that they must always be right. They must always be in control. That becomes their weakness that you, as a parent, you have to observe and monitor. We move on to the next type of child, the social child. I call this child the influencer. They are social, talkative, cheerful, distracted. And the last one is the worst when it comes to teachers in a classroom. They talk, distracted by every little thing, right? But let's look at the positive traits of this child. They're very sensate, emotional, very open to conversation and thoughts and ideas, often disorganized, unfortunately. Right? Very inspirational, you know. They are very trusting with others. They are very generous, very popular. Yeah, you have the popular ones, especially when they reach secondary school. All right, let's look at the motivation. What motivates them? They love to connect with people. So these are like the extroverts. They love to make friends. They love entertainment. They love popularity. They love to help others. But what is that weakness in red? Connection. These are the ones that sometimes may connect to the wrong people at the wrong time in the wrong place. As I say in my school, you have to do the right thing in the right time, in the right place. You know? So connection and fun, they are very playful. That is something you have to monitor and motivate them in the right direction. Let's move forward as I wrap this thing up. Then we have the patient student or the patient child. Very friendly, relaxing. You know, they are good listeners, adaptable. They are the ones who are the very obedient children. Those are the ones that we teachers select to be prefects in schools. All right? They love to work in teams. They are quiet. They are stable. They're very logical. All right? But not logical, but they are understanding and flexible, willing to work with. How do we motivate this type of child? We give them a lot of acceptance, words of affirmation. words of affirmation. All right. Harmony, safety, kindness. They love to help others. Here's the downside. Safety. They love comfort zones. As one of my mentors once told me, nothing grows in the comfort zone. Something has to die. You have to become uncomfortable. All right. And so their comfort zones can become their greatest threat from growth and development. Then we have finally the analytical child. I call this child the analyst, or the logical child, right? They are very systematic, conventional, courteous, careful. They have very high standards. I call them the perfectionists. That's the word I was trying to remember just now. They are the perfectionists. Very independent, very firm, self-righteous, careful, persistent, rigid, firm, accurate, fact finder, diplomatic, right? What motivates them? Order, structure, procedures. You must have a timeline and a framework when you're working with these type of kids. Specific acknowledgement or instructions. And then we have mental challenge. They love mental challenges. What is their weakness? Clarity. How can clarity be a weakness, you may ask? What's the weakness? If they don't get clear instructions, they cannot function. Now, that is a red flag when it comes to dealing with crisis and life, because life is full of crises and problems. And so you can't be so rigid in terms of seeking clarity and structure that the whole house is burning down and the fire officer is saying, run, and you're asking, okay, which direction? How fast? How slow? Right? So that's what we mean by that's a weakness, clarity. So just a quick remember, when you talk or communicate with your child, ask yourself what motivates them. Is it power? Is it connection and fun? Is it safety and clarity? Right? And what do we want to change as parents? We want to change our parenting styles from manipulation, and all parents, how we know to do soft manipulation when we are ready, gentle manipulation to get our kids to do what they want, right? Change our approach from manipulation to motivation, all right? And that's the end of my presentation for today. And so as I close this presentation, I want to just run straight into our poll. And this poll is very, very simple. Let me stop sharing. Great. All right. Where's my poll? Where's my poll? All right. So this poll is very simple. I just launched it. Just 6 quick questions. All right. It's a very short quiz. First question.
Which parenting style are you? Are you indulgent, permissive, authoritarian, authoritative, or laissez-faire or neglective?
All right, 10 seconds to answer. Let's go. Parents. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3. Come parents, 2. We have just 5 more questions to go based on what you learned in this presentation. Which parenting style are you? 1. All right, excellent. Thank you for that. Let me move on to the next one. Question number 2, Miss.
Who did you adopted that parenting style?
From.
Who
Who did you adopted it from? Yeah. Is it your parents, your grandparents, or it was self-imposed? You and your partner, the child father, you all came up with it with your own, parenting. You saw your father being a drunkard and you say, you're not going to do that for my child. We have always of self-imposing our own values. What is it? 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. All right, 0. All right, and we are moving on to question number 3, Miss.
Which personality profile best describe your child or children?
All right, I'm seeing some answers already. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Excellent job.
Right, question number 4. Have you ever experienced parent-child conflicts due to this personality or parenting style dynamics at home or at school?
All right, so parents, go ahead and answer this question. It's a quick yes or no answer. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And I'm just trying to see how fast I can move out of the way for our guest today. All right. On a scale of 1 to 10, 1 being the least, 10 being the most, honestly, rate if the root cause, guys, I learned this very early o'clock in my mentorship programs with my young people. There are root causes, and so many times we are distracted trying to solve the fruits and not focusing on the roots. And so is it possible that our parenting styles, how we talk to our children, how we treat them, how we interact with them, and our ignorance of our kids' personality style, is there a possibility that it might be the root cause to a lot of the conflict with our kids? Think about it. Let me get your responses very, very quickly. Very, very, very quickly. Please respond. We really want to get your feedback. All right. And then finally,
Right, are you willing to learn healthier ways of parenting? Excellent. Most of you said yes.
All right. Awesome. So I want to thank you so much. All right, share results. All right, so I think the results are all right. Are we seeing the responses? I hope it's showing up on your end. Miss Moses, can you tell me if the results is showing for?
Yes.
Okay, great. So I'm seeing for question number 1, which child?
Actually, Mr. Clement, I'm seeing a fresh poll in front of me right now. I'm not.
My response showed. Okay.
Oh, I probably.
All right. So we're having some minor technical glitches here, but we'll get over it. All right, I want to share the results, view results, and I'm going to share the results now. Is it showing up now?
Yeah, no, it's not showing it, but I'm not able to retake it.
All right, that's fine. Let me just read it quickly in interest of time. So, yes. Parents, okay, so which parenting style are you? We saw 36% said indulgent or permissive, 27% said indulgent, 36% said authoritative, and 0% said laissez-faire or neglected. All right, that's a pretty full balance. All right, and thank you for your honesty. Most important. Who did you adopt that parenting style from? We saw 0% said parents.
Grandparents.
Grandparents, sorry, 0% said grandparents. 38% said parents, and 63% said self-imposed. All right, that's excellent. Which personality profile best describes your child? 29% dominant, aka the leader. 29% said social, the influencer. 29% said the patient, cool as a cucumber, as they say. All right, the patient child, and then the analytical or perfectionist, 14%. All right. Number 4, have you ever experienced childhood conflicts? Almost everyone said yes. All right. What about root causes? Not really, but 14% said no, not really. 29% said it's likely or possible. 43% said yes. It's definitely it. And 14% said most definitely. All right. And those who want to learn more, all right, awesome. Everyone said yes to that one. So, guys, we thank you for participating in this quiz. We wanted to get your feedback because all of this is going into the planning of our next session on the 16th of February, where we are getting some very high-profile guest speakers to address some of the more pressing issues affecting students and parenting on the national scene. And so without any further delay, thank you so much for taking time to listen. And I want to ask Miss Walker, if you can, Miss, kindly read our bio for our speaker today, as you introduce her as our final speaker. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Clement. Miss Kelline Theophille. Our next speaker up is a certified emotional intelligence coach, entrepreneur, speaker, and author dedicated to transforming mindsets. With experience as a lecturer, guidance counselor, and author of Don't You Dare Back Down, Strategies to Overcoming Fear, she brings a fresh approach to motivation. As the owner of the Promised Jars by Kel and the creator of the Live a Life You Love coaching program, my apologies, Kelline empowers individuals to thrive by mastering their emotions and thoughts. She has worked with companies like Sagicor, Hyatt, and the Ministry of Public Administration, conducting seminars and corporate training sessions. Kelline has done extensive work with students in both primary and secondary schools, teaching them practical ways to integrate emotional intelligence into their lives. She developed the Yellow Paper Project, a program designed to help secondary school students navigate emotions effectively, which she has successfully implemented in schools across South Trinidad. Additionally, she has led team building sessions for school staff, fostering stronger collaboration and workplace dynamics. It is my pleasure to introduce to you all Ms. Kelline Theophille. Ms. Theophille, welcome.
Thank you. Good evening, everyone. It, of course, is a pleasure to be here. I'm always excited to be in forums that are designed for parents, simply because I get to work a lot with children. And one of the things that come out from those sessions is how much more we need to do work with parents, simply because children don't raise themselves. We are the ones raising them. And so it is crucial that, yes, we continue to work on our children, but as parents, there's a lot of work for us to do. So I'm going to be brief. want to talk to us a little bit about the emotionally intelligent parent. Now, if all of you were to be asked what is your most important role at this season of your life, you are going to say a parent. We know that we function as different things, wives, husbands, employees, business owners, but we know that raising the next generation is very important to us. Now, parenting is one of the most beautiful journeys that you can be on, but it's also one of the most difficult, if we're being very honest. There are two sides of that coin. On one end, parenting is particularly different and difficult in this particular era of raising Gen Zs because they are exposed to way more than we would have been exposed to when we were younger. Children are different now. So long time you used to hear them say that children are seen and very rarely heard. I know what it is when my mother give me that cut eye. You will not move. As a matter of fact, she didn't even need to pinch me and I start to cry because I know that was how she operated. There was a no joke system going on and you stuck with it. In this era, children are asking you why when you try to discipline them. They are now exposed to way more information that we are exposed to. So we are not the only ones informing them. Your family unit is no longer the only one informing them. Now we have social media. We are now seeing where they are introduced to thoughts that we would have never thought about. Now they are giving access um to having opinions that we wouldn't even have given them permission to have access to in the first place. So we have that side of the coin of why parenting has now become difficult. And then we have the next side of the coin with parenting, where let's be very honest, as much as we're raising children, we are also trying to figure it out ourselves. And we sometimes take for granted that, yes, I am this person's mommy, yes, I'm this person's daddy, but I am also me. And I am trying to keep you alive. I'm trying to figure out my career at the same time. I'm trying to navigate whatever relationships I have going on in the different arenas of my life. And so it becomes difficult when you have this combination of we're raising a generation that is very different, as well as I am trying to keep my family unit together. I'm trying to navigate the ins and outs of the stress that comes with raising a family. Now, we have to admit that the way that we are raised or were raised by our generation, the stress that we carry and even the pressures of the life that we are living outside of our children, it indeed impacts the relationship or the interaction that we have with our children. The problem is we don't really realize it. And so you have this case where sometimes the family stress and tension has this way of filtering into the lives of our children. But the problem is because we don't sometimes realize just how observant these children are, how much they are absorbing. We are not paying attention to how that they are being impacted. And so what happens is we start to see it when it has already reached the point where they're acting out. So it shows up in schools. So teachers are now realizing, okay, something has to be off at home because this child is responding in a way that isn't normal. And if you pull back the layers, you'll realize a lot of that stress is because children are now internalizing a lot of things that they are seeing from us as parents. Now, as we're talking about that, I know Mr. Adrian would have just spoken about the parenting stats. I want to talk about a particular new trend that we have been seeing in parenting. It doesn't fit into one of the styles, but I promise you it has been happening a lot. And so that trend is now this shift towards that body parenting. Now, I don't know about you, but I grew up with the type of mother and father that says, as no one of your little friend and them. Listen, the amount of times I have been given that threat to get in line has been often. But the funny thing is now our generation actually seems to want to invite our children to be our friend. And so you have this instance where we are constantly seeing as I interact with parents, as I interact with children, where children are now being treated more as best friends rather than sons and daughters. Now, having a close relationship with your children is really important. It is essential that you build that proper relationship with them. But there's a difference from building a strong relationship with your children versus exposing them to adult problems that could actually rob them of their childhood and place burdens on them that they were never meant to carry. Many of us may have been recipients of when our parents would tell us a lot of heavy things that were going on in your household and you were a bit confused. And so we don't see how the impact of sharing these adult themed issues with our children impact them. And this is where the conversation of being an emotionally intelligent parent comes into play. I like to call it simply using wisdom when dealing with your children. So understand this. Emotional intelligence is very simple. I know it's a word that sometimes people like, I'm not entirely sure what that is. Emotional intelligence is very easy, it's very simple. It's your ability to understand, manage, and express emotions in a healthy way. Now, in the Caribbean context, I have to admit that word emotions gets a very bad rap. And we deal with it with a bit of scorn. It's either you need to toughen up or you're too soft. And we have to get rid of that narrative, because I will tell you this, when we're making very crucial life decisions, when you don't have a template to pull from, what do you pull from? Your emotions. It's how I feel. I have a gut feeling. And so we cannot ignore something that we've unconsciously been allowing to rule our lives. So being emotionally intelligent is very simple. It means being able to understand, manage, and express emotions in a way that is healthy. Now, how do we take that definition and put it in the context of being an emotionally intelligent parent? On one end is being aware of how our emotions impact our children. Children are very sensitive. And please don't take for granted that if you have a child as young as 1 or 2 that they don't really pay attention or they can't really understand, that is not true. Studies have been showing that children even react to our emotions in the womb. They are able to sense it, they are able to pick up on it. And so being an emotionally intelligent parent is being aware of how my emotions are affecting my children. A second way that you can become an emotionally intelligent parent is by teaching your children how to process their feelings rather than suppress it. We do have a suppressed culture here in the Caribbean that we really need to get rid of. So what does that look like in terms of suppressing? So a good example for me is when I was growing up, I was always told I was too softy. So everything is a girl, she could cry, or she always has something to say or something to express. And so hearing that after for a long while after, you begin to toughen up. And so then I had a case where after years of being told I was too softy and I need to toughen up. Now here I am as a teenager going in my 20s, and now I am too tough. I can't express anything because I was always told if it's anger, you resolve it. If it's anything else, it needs to be discarded. If it's not happy, then it's a wasted emotion. We cannot teach our children to suppress their emotions, because what tends to happen is suppressing them will eventually lead to that bubbling over. And then the rest of the society, schools, all of these different people are now going to get the brunt of that suppression, because emotions will eventually come out. Emotions are simply little signs that let us know what is going on inside of us. So they need to be expressed. If you want to know what your children are going through, allow them to tell you how they feel. So that's the second way that you can become an emotionally intelligent parent. The third thing is setting emotional boundaries so that our children do not become emotional dumping grounds. Sometimes we are so unconscious of what we say to them in the middle of our stress. We just sometimes word vomit on them. So sometimes we just explode. We have to set emotional boundaries with them. One of the things that my father taught me a long time was age-appropriate parenting. There's no way that somebody who's under the age of 21, and even if you have a child that big, that they should have to be subject to some of the heavy emotions that we feel as parents. They should not be inside that circle. So as parents, we have to set those boundaries, and we will talk a little bit more of that in a little bit. And then the last way that you can be an emotionally intelligent parent, which is going to be so helpful as they continue to age, is helping them develop the social skills and resilience without overwhelming them with the adult issues. Those social skills are so important because this is how they're going to relate to people. As of right now, it might look like play, it might look like good manners, but when they get into the place of employment, you see these things coming up. You have to teach them. We have to teach children to be resilient. So our generation, particularly, I am on the upper end of being a millennial. We have this mindset where we are all winners. Listen, we have to teach our children the lesson of loss. We have that, it builds backbone. We can't teach them that no, everything comes easy and everything is always nice. Sometimes you lose, and you teach them how to be resilient in loss. You teach them that failure only happens when you decide not to try again. So all of these things are how you can be an emotionally intelligent parent. We don't baby them. We teach them to be tough, but at the same time, we allow them to express. And so if you want to be an emotionally intelligent parent, don't offload your stress on your children, but instead model what it means to be healthy in your regulation, in your communication, and problem solving. So, any questions there, or are we good there? So, we understand what it means to be an emotionally intelligent parent. Now, let's dive a little bit more into that buddy parenting, that buddy parenting. So my child is my friend. Oh no, she's my best friend. And the danger of it, especially when you're dealing with children who are under the age of 21. So you see that gap between 5 and 21, it becomes dangerous. So as I was saying earlier, there's nothing wrong with having a close relationship with your child. However, friendship should never replace parental guidance and protection. So your goal is not to be seen as the enemy, but it is to be seen as the authority figure. And so that means that as a parent, yes, I want you to feel comfortable, but I don't want you to treat me like a friend so that when I have to be authoritative and there's no blurred lines. We
That's correct.
understand that.
That's correct. No, I
Correct.
said that's correct.
Exactly. So you don't want to be the enemy, but you want to be an authoritative figure. You know, I grew up with a father who was quiet man. My father is I like to call him a gentle giant. The man is all of 6'5". He could be clocking close to 300, very quiet. Don't make much of a fuss. But and he was always very cuddly, so he's called him Teddy Bear. But when my father walked into a space and used that authority, every man Jack claimed the room. Because we understood that he was loving, he is all of those things, but he was our authority. I never saw him as the enemy, but I know you don't play with daddy. And that's what we want our children. You are safe. Come to me. However, know that I am the authority and I am going to enforce the rules that comes with being a part of this household. So here's why it could become dangerous if we're not mindful of that buddy parenting. Children are not emotionally ready for adult problems. There's no way that a child should have to be able to hear you vent about financial struggles or your toxic relationships or personal disappointments. They are not able to handle the weight of that. That is a lot. And you see it manifest itself by children who suffer with anxiety, children who have behavioral problems. So children are not emotionally ready to handle that. And so we have to be careful. I had an incident when I was a guidance counselor where we had a child. She will always try to sell her snacks at recess. Now, mind you, this child she was in standard one. So this child will always keep trying to sell her snacks and she would prefer to go hungry, and we didn't understand. So of course, doing what we have to do as professionals, we brought her in, we having conversation with her, and we realized that her reason for trying to sell her snacks was because her parents will always tell her they don't have enough money, they don't have enough this, and they would share in detail the financial issue that was going on with them. And this child internalized it to think, you know what, maybe I could have a solution to help my parents. Now, tell me that's not kind of heartbreaking to hear somebody who's that small thing that they have to now help solve a financial issue. Now, let me tell you this. I always used to, when I was younger, before I did catch my mind, I said to my mother, I didn't ask to be here. Rude, eh? Don't worry, she deal with it. But the truth of it is our children didn't ask to be here. And so we agreed to have the responsibility to take care of them. We don't say it not, we don't say it easy, you know, but we agreed to it. That doesn't mean that they have to now feel like a burden. We don't have to share that this is something that we are struggling with. They're not able to regulate. They don't know how to solve an adult problem. So that is one of the problems with thinking your child is such a friend that you want to share these struggles, especially in toxic relationships. They are going to take an example of those things and now they do relationships like that. So Mr. Smith said they could think that they have to do the solution, that they have to or they think they are at fault, like I am the reason why you're broke. And we have to be careful of that. And so with what I was mentioning with toxic relationships, just remember whatever you are saying about your partner, those children are not taking it as an I should be on daddy or mommy side, Their little minds now sometimes either go after the exact same type of person because they don't know if it's familiar to them. Mommy staying in this, daddy staying in this, so this could be okay for me. Or they go to the extreme of like, I don't want to have anything to do with any relationship. So be very careful when you are, especially if you're in a space of co-parenting, you and your person not even together and you're co-parenting, be careful of how you talk about that other person with your child. They are internalizing it. That is not a conversation for a child to be having. The second way that it becomes dangerous, it blurs boundaries and creates confusion. Imagine it all the time you are treating this child as a friend. So I'm talking to you like you're a big woman. I'm talking to you like a big man. And then all of a sudden, I try to step into the role of being an authoritative figure, and this child lashes out. You can see why logically this child will lash out, right? You blurred the lines before. You remove the boundary. And so now coming into a space that now correct becomes difficult. Children operate and work best out of structure. They work good when they have lines to operate within in terms of discipline. And so you cannot afford to blow those lines because when it's time to correct, it becomes confusing because they're not sure which of these am I supposed to work with. Am I supposed to work with mommy, the friend who's always talking all talk with me, or now she's trying to be a disciplinary? And that's where you get that bad behavior starting to rub against each other. And then the last way that we see it happening, and this is maybe the most obvious way, is it affects their academic and social life. And so you see sometimes somebody will say, the child is slow. No, the child is overwhelmed. The child is overwhelmed and can't concentrate. It's not that the child might be slow. And so we miss it because sometimes they overwhelm with everything that is going on. They withdraw socially. They develop sometimes perfectionist type tendencies. All of these things, we like to label children in bad ways, not realizing that the root cause sometimes are things that we have caused. I'm not saying that they aren't genuine things that sometimes we have to put our eye on, but many times there's a root cause at home. And because of that, this is how it manifests itself. So you have to be careful of that friendship type of relationship that you have, particularly at this instrumental age that you have your kids, because you don't want to see these dangers manifest. So remember, they're not emotionally ready for those adult problems. Be careful with those blurred boundaries because it creates confusion, as well as you remember it is going to affect their academic and their social life. Have you ever met a little child who seems way too grown and too mature? The child is happy. The child don't know how to sit down and enjoy themselves. I had to deal with a situation recently where a 9-year-old will go into panic, absolute panic, anytime school is coming up. So you give her the choice to sit down and watch TV. She'll prefer to go and study. And that was because her parents kept pushing to her that she could make it out and help the family if she is able to succeed. This child is 9. And so she already has the social anxiety. She already is being impacted on an academic standpoint. And that's again because the parents think that she's able to handle it. So that is the danger of that buddy in parenting. So how do I, as we begin to wrap up, how do I protect my child? How do I make sure that my child gets to be a child and I secure their innocence? Parents, remember this, that you are the emotional thermostat for your household. You ever walk in, or have you ever had the experience where one adult walks into a space and the whole atmosphere shifts? Or if daddy had a bad day, everybody running for cover because as they come into this space, they are affected. Or when mommy starts to bang pots, everybody hide because you know that whatever it is that she feels is not going to impact everything. We are in charge of the climate of our households. When a parent is stressed or tense or overwhelmed, everybody senses it, more so your children, even if nothing is spoken. And this is why, as parents, we have the responsibility to be self-aware and to regulate. So if you want to protect your children's innocence, one, please recognize your emotional state. You are not a superhero. I know that our kids think that we are superheroes, that we we are superheroes to them. Sometimes you take 50 cents and make $1 out of it because we're superheroes. However, putting that aside, you cannot ignore where you are located in terms of your emotional state. You have to be able to be honest and say, you know what, I am in a dark place right now. I am in an overwhelmed space right now. And so being able to recognize that lets you know, or should bring you to the point of asking yourself, in the midst of all of that I'm feeling, am I offloading my stress on my child? Is this child taking the brunt of all that I am feeling that I have not even recognized? And so we have to learn, instead of venting on them, not just to them, on them, we have to find healthy outlets. Parents, you cannot be only a parent. We want to be, it's not always as easy as it sounds, but all you can be is not a parent. And one of the things that helps that is finding healthy outlets outside of yourself. I'm not saying you have to dedicate an entire day. I'm just saying you have to find time to prioritize your mental health, prioritize that stress level. So when it is going to therapy, I'm of course a big believer in therapy. I am an emotional intelligence coach and I have a therapist. And the therapist is not because anything wrong, but just to make sure that I am well regulated. You understand? Because I know at any moment, I don't want to ever have to vomit all over my family. You understand? So recognize your own emotional states by making sure you're not offloading on them, but you have a healthy outlet. You don't want to go therapy, there's journaling. I am a believer, so I believe in prayer. Talking to a trusted friend. All of your other parents on this platform, find a friend who you can relate to that you are able to talk to. So if you want to secure your children's innocence, recognize your emotional state and find the proper outlet for them. The second thing is creating an emotionally safe home. Would your child consider your home safe? If it is that they were asked, would they think their home is safe, or are they always afraid? Or is it something that they always shrink into because of the climate of your home? Make sure that your home is safe. If you're going to get into it with your partner or whatever it is, remove your children from the space. My parents have been married for this year, I think it will make it 36 years. I've very rarely heard my parents argue. Very rarely. And that's because whenever it will come up, they remove themselves because they know the impact of seeing of us seeing my siblings and I seeing them argue, what that can have on us. And so that allowed us to feel safe. Make sure that when these adult situations happen, you remove your children or you remove yourself so that they can see their space as safe. Then always remember, make sure to teach your kids healthy emotional expressions. We have this new term called gentle parenting. It's quite interesting if you watch the different videos. I don't know how many of you have heard of gentle parenting. So gentle parenting is where, as opposed to in the Caribbean, where I lash first and ask questions after, because some of us grew up like that, right? You get slapped and then they ask a question. Don't leave my hanging. Raise your hand if you know you used to get slapped first, and then anything else can happen. So gentle parenting is the opposite of that. I talk, I reason, I ask. Instead of lashing you, I will put you on timeout, right? Now, gentle parenting has to have a balance because some gentle parents take it to the extreme of being their child's friend. We have to teach our children healthy emotional expression, and that is by what I mimic. If I'm angry, what are your children seeing in your anger? Just remember, children learn more by what they see versus what you say to them. So you are the one that's going to be responsible for teaching them emotional expression. So when your children ask you, Mommy, what happened? Don't lie to them. Let them know you're frustrated, but talk it through. They shouldn't be experiencing you mashing up things or screaming at each other. Healthy expressions come from you. And then the last thing is maintaining the authority while being approachable. Being emotionally intelligent does not mean that you're cold, but it means setting clear, loving boundaries that make your children feel safe. Your children should think that you are the first point of contact with anything. They should be able to think that you are the one that they need to come to. As I wrap up, I will never forget this story. I was 14 or 15 at the time, fast in my waist, and I had a little boyfriend, right? And I remember the boyfriend decided that, he wanted to break up with me. So my heart broke. So I go home and I go to my mother and I tell my mother about the same boyfriend that she did mama to have, mind you. But she was so safe. I went to her and you're crying and you're la 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 and you cry and you're so heartbroken. As an adult now, I remember her face. I know she wanted to cut my skin. I know she wanted to trip off. But remember, she's trying to be safe. If she had shut down, she knew that I would not have been receptive. And so she allowed me to talk to her. And then as a parent, she gently let me know. She said, listen. And she laid down the rules. She reminded me. And then she comforted me. She allowed me to know that it was okay. And so that for me created such a safe space. She was authoritative, but I was able to approach her because I knew that she was safe. She was authority, but she was also approachable. Can you be the both for your children? So as we wrap up, just practical ways that I want you to apply this in your everyday life. So I need to read this comment because I'm experiencing this right now. So the person said, some of our parents who were strict with us back then tell us to be gentle now. So your children love grinding to the max. Listen, telling me not to hit my child. And but long time, you get blazed without question. And now the same grandmother is, no, don't hit the child. Don't discipline the child. Give it sweets after that.
I second that.
It's perplexing. I do not understand because I would remember that's not how you used to deal with me, mommy. So what you telling me now to leave the child alone? But that's just how it is, right? So practical ways to apply emotional intelligence to parenting as we wrap up. Practice, as we said before, that emotional regulation. Ask yourself this question: am I responding from a place of stress or from a place of wisdom? So before you react to your children's behavior, pause and ask yourself that question. Am I responding from a place of stress or from a place of wisdom? Sometimes a child will do anything. Guys, just remember, children are going to be children. A 10-year-old is going to act like a 10-year-old. We understand that, right? So sometimes we beat them without cause or we argue with them without cause. They are being children. So we have to be able to stop and regulate. Am I responding because I am stressed versus that child did something wrong? We have to be able to ask that question. And then the last one is, or second to last one is, encourage that open, age-appropriate conversations. As an emotionally intelligent parent, your only question to your child should not be, how was your day? How was your day does not tell you much. They are going to respond what? It was okay. It was normal. It was okay. Your responsibility as a parent is to know the details of your child's life. How was Sarah today in school? What made you happy today in school? Anybody tell you anything? What got you upset today? What new game or you learned today? What was something new you discovered? Ask dynamic questions that are age appropriate, that gives you insight. Nobody should know about your children's business more than you. Who they're friends with in school now? What's something new that has been going on? We understand that, right? So encourage open, age-appropriate conversations with them. Get to know your child. Nobody should know them more than you know them. But it has to go beyond us just saying, how was your day? It has to be more dynamic than that. So as I wrap up, I want you to remember that children, more than anything else, they're watching. Guys, they watch us and they mimic us. It's the same way somebody will watch me and say, hey, girl, you real like your mother, boy. More than just look, is because they mimic what they see. So do you like what you see on your children that is very present in you? Do you like what you see on you that it will be okay if your children mimic that? Is a question we always have to ask ourselves. So the key takeaway from this very quick conversation: be a parent first, not just a friend. They will become your friends eventually. My mother is my best friend to this day. It took a little while. It took getting into my 30s and being married and out of her house before I became one of her little friends, because now she's my little friend. But it was because she was a parent first. So be a parent first, not just a friend. Protect your children's innocence by keeping adult problems between adults. Help your child develop emotional intelligence by modeling healthy expression and communication, and give them the freedom to be children without the burden of adult stress. They will become adults soon enough. So remember, parenting from an emotional intelligence standpoint isn't about perfection, it's about intentionality. So let us commit to raising the next president, the next whoever it is, the next engineer, the next hairdresser, the next business owner. We have to commit to raising them in a way that allows them to be good, wholesome adults. And that starts by making sure that they're safe and they're loved and they're emotionally intelligent. So thank you so much for having me. It was an absolute pleasure.
Wow. Yes? Wasn't that an amazing session?
Yes, it was. Definitely.
Oh my goodness. That was phenomenal. Amazing. Thank you so much, Miss Kelline Theophille. It was a lot to take in, but thank God we could look at this again. Mr. Clement.
Yes.
We could definitely have a recap of this entire program via YouTube, is it? Yes? Yeah?
Yes, definitely.
Right. Okay, wonderful. So,
Allow
I think
me allow me to
yes.
intercept here.
Hmm?
All right. Can you hear me, Miss
Yes.
Walker?
Yes, we're hearing now.
Okay, great. So at this point, we want to close by saying a special thanks to Ms. Theophille. What on point presentation. It's a great way to launch this Parental Upgrade podcast. I don't know if you
Yes.
have been upgraded with some key information that can really shape your year 2025 in becoming a better parent. Just type in the chat hashtag upgraded parenting. You know, if you could just type that, upgrade parenting. As we close, we have a quick. Okay. All right. Can you hear me now? All right. Upgrade parenting. All right. So just type it in the chat. Before you go, I know it's now 8:04. We want to close with this very quick request. So I'm gonna show you very quickly. Very quickly, I want to show you our Facebook page. Now, if you knew someone tonight that missed tonight's session, for whatever reason, we will be uploading this on our official YouTube page. All right, official YouTube page, the Excel Success Academy page. All right, what you can do for you to get access to all of the content we have about 17 videos there with previous interviews and so on. You can go in and subscribe. Now, the subscription is very important simply because we are going to be loading all of our parental upgrade podcasts and webinar sessions and presentations live on the YouTube page. All right. So if parents would have missed it, get subscribed. So as soon as we upload it to the page, you will actually get a notification that this presentation, along with many others, are ready for viewing. So spread the word, parents. If you can, I selected the chat. Sorry, I placed in the chat the link for this YouTube page, and very soon we're just trying to sort out some verification approvals with YouTube. This actual podcast would be streaming live on YouTube. All right, and that is why we want to get all parents connected to the YouTube platform, because we could actually host a larger audience and we can store all the videos free of charge. So all these are the great benefits of subscribing to the YouTube page. You get notified, you get access to all the content, and we can host a larger volume of parents as this program impacts more and more parents for the good. So thank you so much. I'm going to place a poll very quickly on the screen, and this poll is just to ask for your quick feedback. Miss, I'll stop sharing here now. Miss Walker, I'm going to ask you to just close off with this poll and then a vote of thanks. Thank you very much. Is she hearing me? You're not hearing her. Ms. Walker, you can unmute your mic.
Am I conducting this poll, or?
Yes, please. If you could, just 3 questions. Well, 4.
Okay, everyone. So we are going to be asking for your feedback at this time. All right. And the first question is, were you positively impacted by the program and content provided this evening? Yes or no? Question number 2. Are you willing to attend our next program on February 16th, 2025, 6 p.m., along with 3 other parents? Yes. Yes or no? Question number 3. Are you willing to be a PUP representative to share these presentations in your community or school? Choice 1 or choice 2? And of course, choice 1 would be community, I guess, and or school. Mr. Clement?
I'm sorry, just repeat one more time.
Just for clarity with question number 3.
Yes, community or school, correct. Community or at school. School meaning the PTA groups, parents groups. In community, we have parents involved in social work, in community council groups, that kind of stuff.
Okay, so once you've completed, I think there's one more, number 4. Did you subscribe to our YouTube channel to get notified for our next Parental Upgrade podcast or webinar? Yes, I am subscribed, or will do so now. Make your choice. Once you're through with it, submit.
All right. Thank you so much. Want to say thank you so much, everyone, for coming. I'll ask Ms. Moses to give a quick vote of thanks, and really a pleasure having you attending this launch.
Thank you so much again to each and every one of the attendees, the participants, the winners of this evening, the special guests, the speakers. Thank you so much, everybody. I know that this effort was one that was well thought out. A lot of time, effort, energy went into it. Again, Mr. Clement and Ms. Taylor, I know that very long sleepless hours too. This. All right. So thank you so much for making this a reality, from an idea to a reality, but having it materialize in this launch. And we look forward to having, as someone would have suggested earlier, years of it being in its duration. All right, and probably even handing over the baton to someone who's also going to be able to take that role on in your absence. All right, but at this point in time, thank you so much again, each and every one of you. We look forward to having you back with us on the 16th of February at 6 p.m. It was an absolute pleasure to be here to facilitate in this regard. Have a good night.
Good night and thank you.
Same here.
You're most welcome.
Good night. Well said. Well done.
Thank you.
Good night.
Blessings.
Thank you for caring to share with us.
Blessed night to everyone. Truly enjoyed this presentation.
Have a blessed night, everyone.